Today's patio chat is being brought to you locally by Westridge Furniture in Delphus. See it all at your finer outdoor furniture store.
And welcome back to an In Edition. We are out on the patio, beautiful day, and Dr. Perry Bush is with us. And boy, it's been a rough last 4 to 6 weeks for former President Donald Trump. He's just been kind of walking through the mire lately.
Yep, and he's got to be doing some serious calculations about first time we've ever had a former president or sitting president indicted, 37-count indictment for violating of the Espionage Act based on records retention. And he's got to be calculating what it means for his local campaign and really what it means for his future. I mean, if he's convicted, this is a big if, right? He's got to appear before a jury of his peers. He's an American citizen. He has a right to jury trial before his peers. If he's convicted, it could mean jail. And it's hard to imagine that happening, Lynn, but so many things are happening that are hard to imagine, so we'll see.
Well, I know he's already said his plan is if it looks like a conviction is coming, he'll just kind of try to delay things as much as he possibly can, but that's only going to work for so long.
Yeah, it seems to be his playbook. It's an interesting time for the country, not just for President Trump, Lynn. I mean, you can argue on one hand that the indictment of a former president or current presidential candidate, and arguably the front runner for the Republican presidential nomination by, in fact, his former opponent and current president, right, is an extraordinarily grave matter with profound political overtones that shouldn't happen on the basis of what could be seen as a minor matter of records retention. I mean, if he does something major, okay. But on the other hand, let me just give you a quote here. On political corruption, said this candidate, we're going to restore honor to our government. In my administration, we're going to enforce all the laws concerning the protection of classified information. No one will be above the law. And of course, that was candidate Trump back in 2016. No one will be above the law. And of course, you don't have to go to leftist sites for this. This is Trump's own Attorney General, William Barr, who said that Trump illegally removed from the White House some of the most sensitive national defense documents that the country possesses. And the indictment charges, he casually kind of showed them to visitors at his country club.
And that's been a little alarming, hearing some of the audio that we've heard this week.
Absolutely. So suppose the government doesn't prosecute for this, then it does suggest that a president is above the law. If you don't mind, I'm going to put on my historian hat here.
Sure.
When George Washington was inaugurated, there was a big debate in the country about what his title should be, right? And Alexander Hamilton, as Secretary of the Treasury, was an Anglophile. He wanted to make this country as close to England as possible. He wanted to make Washington president for life. And so he came up with this grand title for Washington, Emperor of the High Seas, Your Excellency, and what are we going to call you? And Washington said, just call me Mr. President. I'm a citizen. And so here we are again, wrestling. Do we have an imperial presidency, or is the president a citizen? Is the president above the law? And that's what this document's case in the end does. It's a 37-count indictment about some pretty egregious offenses. So we'll have to see what this means for the country, not just for President Trump.
And we're quickly running out of time here, but former Vice President Pence, current President Biden also had documents, but they were very quick to turn those over, withheld nothing. So there's a big difference between them and where Trump stands.
President Biden, his lawyers discovered he had like 20 documents, turned those over immediately. Pence had about a dozen documents. His lawyers turned those over immediately. President Biden is being investigated by a special counsel. There's none yet against Pence. So in some degree, it's a matter of how much are you cooperating, whereas the indictment charges, Trump played a shell game, hid documents, instructed his lawyer to lie, refused to cooperate, defied the subpoena. So partly it's a bet of his own making, one could argue, and we'll see how it all shakes out.
It's going to be interesting. And Holly is coming up next as she'll have a look at medical.